friends, it's Christy. Welcome back to my channel. Today I'm going to be making a card using the adorable new Den Sweet Den stamp set. So I've stamped out my images on Nina Solar White cardstock with Lawn Fawn Jet Black ink, and I'm going to be coloring with my Copic markers. The first combo that I'm going to use, and this is going to be for the two adult bears, is E71, E74, E77 and E79, and this is a brown combo, but it's very dark, and so it almost reads as black. So I thought it was perfect for bears, whichever you want them to be. If they're black bears or brown bears, it doesn't really matter. I think it just suits them really well. So I laid in those shadows with that E79, and then I'm going to begin to blend that out with the E77. I'm trying not to add too much of those two darkest shades because they are super dark and I don't want the features to get lost, so I'm saving a lot of room for those lighter shades, and that's also why I chose to use 4 markers instead of just 3. I just think it gives you a lot more contrast between the darkest dark all the way down to the lightest light. So next I'm going to bring in that E74, and when I do, I'm going to start to color in little circular motions and just really try to break up the line that the previous 2 markers have created, since there is so much more of that darker shade in those colors. I just want to, eliminate that harsh line, and that kind of does that. It just helps to break up that pigment. So I'm going to continue filling this little guy in. I'm imagining that this is the daddy bear. So I'm going to color in his hindquarters there and bring that color up on his back. And I'm going to save a lot of room on his belly especially, and the front of his face for that E71, since that will be my highlight shade, and that will just help his eyes especially, to stay a little bit lighter so they don't get lost there. So I'm going to do a double layer on him as well. I'm not going to show that on screen because it would take so long. And I'm also going to do the mama bear off screen. And then I'm going to move on to the baby bears. And the only difference that I'm doing for them is I took away that E79 and I brought in the E70. So I'm still using 4 shades, but they're just going to be slightly lighter than the parents. I just thought that that would help them look a little bit younger, maybe. I don't know if that's a thing, but I thought it worked in my head anyway. So I started with that E77 for the shadows and then blended out with the E74. And then I'll fill in most of the rest of the space with the E71, but I'm going to save a little bit of space on his back for that E70, since I figured that would be where he was catching the light. I also colored the other baby bear off screen, and now moving on to their muzzles. And for those, I'm using E50, E51, and E53. So I did a little shadow with that E53 right up close to their faces, and then blended toward their nose with the E51 and then the E50 for the lightest. And I'll do one of the adult bears and one of the baby bears on screen for you and do the other 2 off screen. And then I'm just going to use the E50 and E51 to color in all of the pages in the books, just by doing a quick little flicking motion with that E51 first, and then doing that with the E50 as well. I wanted to do the lamp in kind of a dusty teal, so I'm using BG72, BG75, and BG78, and that is going to end up on the right hand side of the card, kind of tucked behind the mama bear's arm. So I'm going to put my shading on the right hand side. So I used the BG78 there and then blended toward the left with the BG75 and then the BG72. And while I have those marker shades out, I'm also going to do one of the books. I just colored from the bottom edge up on that one, darkest to lightest. And I did a double layer on the lamp, but just one on the book because I liked the way that it looked. So I took away the BG79 and added in the BG70, and I'm going to do an additional book with that combo. I just had like a really specific color palette in my mind, and I was trying to, work on using that and just sticking in similar color families. So my next combo is RV66, RV69, and RV99. So I'm starting with the RV99 on the book on the far left, the open book, and I'm adding a little bit of shadow on the inner corners and on the base of the spine. And then I'm going to blend up with the RV69, and then I'll fill in the rest of the cover with the RV66. And I really, really loved this color combination. I just thought it was so beautiful and perfect for fall. It's just really bright and vibrant. And then just like I did with the teal combo, I'm going to take away the RV99 and add in the RV63. And I will do an additional book with that combo. This time I put my darkest on the left-hand side since the book above it was overhanging, and so that would cast a shadow there. So I just blended from the left to the right. I wanted to do kind of a mustard yellow on the lampshade, so I'm using Y11, YR20, and YR23. And I'm going to start with the YR23 and draw in some pleats coming up from the little scallops on the bottom edge. And then I'm going to blend that out with the YR20. And then this combo on their own, they're pretty dull, so I wanted to add just a little bit more brightness to it. So I'm going to go over everything with the Y11. It's going to give me that nice lemony yellow that just looks like a golden glow. So I did that twice because you could see that the Y11, because it has so much colorless splendor in it, it really knocked back the other two colors. So I just went back and added those in and then blended over once again. And then while I have these shades out, I'm also going to do the two stripes on the top book and also color in the bottom book in the stack. And I'm just doing the stripes from the bottom towards the top, darkest to lightest, and then the bottom book I'm just going right to left since it's going to be kind of tucked behind Mama Bear as well. And I had one more book that I needed to color in, and I was trying to pick a shade that would go well with these, and I decided I didn't want to go too far outside what I already had, so I thought this color combo might tie in with the teal a little bit. So it's BG10, BG11, and BG53. So when I got all done with those, I decided that I needed a carpet for another pop of color, so I did that from Christmas Dreams. And then I die cut all of my images with the matching dies, but I wanted to show you how this little die here that comes with the Den Sweet Den dies actually cuts out the inner parts of her arms so that you can tuck something inside. So to create my den, I'm taking a piece of narwhal cardstock and I am die cutting the largest of the stitch dens out of that, and I'm going to use the outer portion of that panel. And then for the inside, I'm going to take two pattern papers from the Into the Woods remix, and I want to use this wood grain for the floor and then this teal chevron for their wallpaper. I thought they could have a snazzy den there. They've done some decorating. So I'm going to run that through my die cut machine. I just tape those into place. And then I'm also going to die cut a window out of the top left corner using the smallest of the stitch dens. So I'll just pull those off, and you can see how that created a little window there. And then I have my wallpaper and my floor already in place. All I have to do is tuck those into the hole. But first I'm going to create a night sky to go behind my window. I thought since they were reading and looking cozy, and the what I'm calling Papa Bear on this card and maybe the little boy bear, they are both sleeping already, that it must be nighttime, and the mama and little girl bear are getting their bedtime stories still in. So I'm creating a night sky by coloring with BV06 and then BV04, and I'm trying to do like a little bit of a U shape, and then I'm going to bring in BV02 as well, just to make things even lighter. I'm going to sketch a moon first because I want to make sure not to put any purple behind that, and I will touch that up later on in the video, but I just wanted to have a little bit of white space there. So I'm going to color carefully around that first, and then I'll bring that to meet the previous colors and just create a nice blend there. To go back and forth just a little bit so that everything softens into each other. And I just thought this would be something different than getting out my Distress Oxides or something like that, and creating such a small little panel. Since it wasn't very big, it was just as easy to use my Copics, and I don't know, I just thought it would be something different. So I'm going to use my colorless blender to create a little bit of a glow right around the moon just by coloring over that space and then doing a little bit of like a circle around it. And then I'll go back to my BV04 and just kind of color over that transition area a bit more, and just kind of get things to be a little bit more blended. It doesn't have to be perfect because I will add some stars over top later on, but I just wanted things to be a little bit more smooth. I added some liquid glue around the opening of my pattern paper that's going to be my wallpaper, and then I'm going to just fit that into place right over that piece where I want it. And I'll take a pair of scissors and snip off that corner so it's not sticking out. And then I'm going to take my card base, which is a piece of speckled eggshell cardstock, and I'm going to adhere the narwhal panel first. So I'm going to line that up with the outside edges and just make sure that that is on there nice and straight. And then I will grab my wallpaper piece. I'm going to fill the inside of that recessed area with my liquid glue and then just set that down into place right over top, and just making sure that that is fit inside there nicely. And then I'll grab my floor piece, that wood grain pattern paper, and I'm going to fit that into the bottom section. Then I will grab my images and begin to set my scene. The first thing I'm going to do is take that mama bear and add a dab of glue to her belly, and then I'm going to fit that open book inside her paws. So I'm just going to press that in on one side and then tuck it in on the other and make sure I have that straight where I want it. And then I can add her over on the right hand side of the card. But before I glue her down, I wanted to tuck that stack of books behind her first. I just wanted her there for placement. So I'm going to get that right where I want it, and then I will put the lamp sitting on top of that pile. I'm going to just tuck in that bottom edge so it's a little bit more seamless. And then I can adhere Mama Bear right where I had her before, just making sure that she is completely within that space. I don't want her kind of sticking outside of the den because I just don't think that that would have looked quite right for this particular scene. Then I'm adding that carpet over on the left hand side, and I'll take the sleeping Papa Bear and add him over on one side of that. And then I'll have the other little baby bear kind of sleeping in front of him, so they're sharing that space there on the carpet. And then I have one more book, and I'm going to kind of tuck that between them. So maybe the other little girl bear wanted a princess story tonight, and this little boy wanted an adventure story. So they kind of just split up for story time, but the boys fell asleep first. So I'll add the other little bear sitting in front of the mama so that she can be listening attentively to that story. So for my sentiment, I wanted to tie in a bit more of that mustard yellow color. And if I had had the number 2 pencil cardstock from Lawn Fawn, that would have been the perfect shade. But because I didn't, I went back and used that YR23 marker and just scribbled on my cardstock. And then I added a little Y13 as well to kind of brighten it up, but it was too light, so I added a little bit more of the YR23 again. And now I'm going to stamp the sentiment from our den to yours right on top of that using Lawn Fawn Jet Black ink. And I did stamp that down twice to get a really good impression. Then I will pop my card base in my Misty, and I'm going to stamp on the inside using walnut ink. And I'm going to stamp the little sleeping bear again and that open book, but I've just turned it upside down, and the sentiment that says "your tops in my book." So I totally had to do bookish bears, you guys. I love bears and I love books, so it just had to be. I trimmed down that sentiment with the everyday sentiment banners, and now I'm just trying to figure out where I wanted it on the card. I thought about putting it in the top left, but I decided I liked it better at the bottom of the scene there, so I'm going to just adhere that right in the center. And then as a final embellishment, I'm going to take a white gel pen and I'm going to clean up the lines of my moon and just kind of make that a little bit more prominent. And because I'm coloring right over the purple, it also kind of gives it a little bit of hazy look on the outside edges, which is hard to see on screen, but you can see it in person. And then I just went in and dotted in some stars in all different sizes. I did some big ones and some small ones. And that is going to complete my card for today. There's another peek at the inside. This card is actually on the Lawn Fawn blog today, so if you'd like to check out that post, you can hop over there. And also don't forget to check the description bar below the video for links to all of the products that I used today. If you enjoyed the video, please be sure to hit that like button and subscribe and ring that notification bell so you don't miss a thing. I'm posting new videos every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. And if you can't wait that long, here are 2 extra videos I thought might also interest you. You can click on either one to check them out. I hope you all have an absolutely amazing day. Bye-bye.